Chapter 7. The Long Journey Home.
I was confused. Things were changing so quickly, I did not know what to think. The soldiers began to climb the hill after me.
"Come in here among these trees,"
said a voice nearby. I did what the voice said and heard gunshots going through the air past the trees. Just inside the trees was Alan Breck. He said nothing, except,
"Run!"
He started running across the mountain, and I followed him. After a while, we stopped running.
"This is serious,"
Alan said.
"Do as I do, for your life."
At the same speed, we ran back across the mountain, but a little higher. Finally, we stopped behind some trees. We were breathing quickly. Alan moved first. He went to the edge of the wood and looked around carefully. Then he came back.
"Are you all right, David?"
he asked. I said nothing, and did not even look at him. A man was murdered in front of me, the man that Alan hated. And here was Alan, hiding in the trees, running from the soldiers. Was Alan the murderer? Or did he order someone else to kill the red fox? My only friend in this strange country was guilty of killing another man. I did not want to look at him. I wanted to be on my own, not hiding here with a murderer.
"Are you still tired?"
asked Alan. No, I said, but you and I must go different ways, Alan. I liked you very much, but I don't like the things that you do. They are not my ways, and they are not God's ways. I must leave you. Alan thought for a moment.
"Do you think that I killed the red fox, David?"
he asked me. Well, I know how much you hated him.
"If I want to kill a man, I will not do it in my own country,"
said Alan.
"We don't have much time. We have to run away from here. If we're caught, I'll be in trouble because I'm a deserter. And you'll be in trouble because you are involved in the murder of the red fox,"
he said. But I'm innocent, I said. I'm not afraid of the law in my own country.
"This is not your country,"
said Alan.
"Listen, David, the dead man is a Campbell. If they catch you, the Campbells will want somebody to die for this murder. And that somebody could be you. This is the Campbell law here."
This scared me.
"You people from the lowlands don't understand. We're in the highlands, David. When I say run, trust me and run. It's difficult to run and hide here, but it's even more difficult to be in a redcoat prison."
I'll take my chances with you, Alan, I said.
"It'll be hard,"
warned Alan.
"but your only other choice is death."
We shook hands.
"Now let's see where the redcoats are now,"
he said. We started walking. Night came. It was a cloudy night, so it was very dark. Sometimes we walked, sometimes we ran. We travelled on and on until I was tired and weak. At dawn, we stopped. Alan found a safe place high up between two rocks. I slept. I was woken by Alan's hand over my mouth. "Shh," he said.
"You are making too much noise in your sleep."
"Well, what's wrong?" I asked. He went to the edge of the rock and called me over.
"Look,"
he said quietly. It was now the middle of the day and very hot. From the rock, we looked down into a valley. A river ran through it. About half a mile up the river were a group of redcoats. I looked around. There were more redcoats everywhere I looked.
"I was afraid of this, David,"
said Alan.
"They began to arrive about 2 hours ago, but you were asleep. If they stay down in the valley, we'll be all right. But if they come up here, they'll see us. We'll stay here until it gets dark, and then we'll try to get past them."
All that day, we lay in the hot sun. But we had no water, so, finally, Alan decided we had to move. We jumped down from the rock and waited in the shade. The sun also made the soldiers tired. Many were sleeping. We started to leave the rocks. We moved slowly, but by the evening we were some distance away from the redcoats. Later on, we found some fresh water and washed and drank from it. We felt safe and decided to stop and eat. And so we travelled like this for several days, always looking out for redcoats, always moving south. I wanted to get to Edinburgh, and Alan needed to get to France. We became very tired and hungry. We did not speak much because we were so tired. I was getting ill, but I knew we had to keep going. But soon I felt very ill, and I could not continue. I had to ask Alan for help. My legs simply could not carry me any further. I had a fever, and my stomach hurt. Alan promised to find a house for me to rest. Luckily, the family at the first house we found knew Alan well by name. They saw that I was ill and called a doctor. I was young and strong, and I slowly began to get better. I stayed in bed for only a week. During this time, Alan did not leave me. It was very dangerous for Alan to stay there. The redcoats might see him. But still he came to see me every night, and hid in the woods during the day. After a month, we were ready to continue our journey south, towards Edinburgh.
Chapter 8. The Return to Edinburgh.
I was now stronger, and felt excited about my return to Edinburgh. The only problem was that we had very little money. We needed to move quickly. We arrived at the River Forth. We then had to decide how to get across it to Edinburgh. There was still a lot of soldiers there to get past. Luckily, Alan found a boat to take us across the water to Queensferry, near Edinburgh. Morning came, and now I had to find Mr. Rankula, the lawyer. I needed to speak to him about my father and my inheritance. I also wanted to tell him about my Uncle Ebenezer's plan to kidnap me on the Covenant and send me to America. Alan was going to wait until sunset to meet with me again. If everything goes well with Mr. Rankula, I can give you the money to help you get to France, I told Alan. Soon I was in Queensferry, looking for Mr. Rankula's house. Only now I began to have doubts. Will I find the house? Will Mr. Rankula believe me? Perhaps he won't want to help me. What will I do then? I walked up and down and finally stopped in front of a very nice house. The door opened, and a man came out. "Can you tell me which house is Mr. Rankula's?" I asked.
"Well,"
said the man,
"it's the house I've just come out of. I am Mr. Rankula."
"Well, sir," I said, "can I speak with you?"
"But I don't know your name or your face,"
said Mr. Rankula.
"Who are you?"
"My name is David Balfour, sir," I said.
"David Balfour?"
he said, sounding surprised. We went inside the house.
"How can I help you?"
he asked. "I am the son of Alexander Balfour. Mr. Ebenezer Balfour is my uncle. I believe that the House of Shores is my inheritance," I said. And so we talked. He told me about events in Edinburgh and all the lies that my uncle told about me. I told him everything that happened to me. When I said Alan's name, he stopped me.
"It's probably a good idea to call your friend Mr. Thompson. It's for his own safety,"
he added. Mr. Rankula gave me some clean clothes. Then we talked again. He told me the story of my father and Uncle Ebenezer. The two brothers fell in love with the same woman. After a lot of fighting, the lady rejected both of them. After more arguing, they made a decision. They decided that one brother could have the lady, and the other brother could have the house.
It was a bad decision for everyone,
said Mr. Angular.
Your mother and father lived and died poor, and your Uncle Ebenezer was hated by everyone. He became selfish and dangerous, as you have seen for yourself.
And so, I asked, what is my position now?
Well, the law says that the house is yours,
replied the lawyer.
But I think your uncle will fight you for it. Listen, your uncle paid Captain Hoseason to kidnap you, right? We need to show that your uncle was responsible. If we can do this, he'll have to give you the house.
At this point, I began to think of a plan. I told Mr. Angular.
But do I have to meet your friend Mr. Thompson?
He said. I think so, sir, I said. He asked me many questions, but I saw that he liked my plan. In the end, he agreed to it. At around sunset, we left the house. We met Alan and walked down to the House of Shores. Alan knocked on the door. Mr. Angular and I hid nearby. My uncle came to the door.
Who are you and what do you want?
He said.
Who I am is not important,
said Alan.
I have to talk to you about David.
Alan told my uncle that he had locked me up in a room.
The law says that this is David's house, but I can help you. I know that you have money. You must either pay me to kill David, or pay me to keep him away from you. You choose.
How much do I have to pay?
Asked my uncle.
How much did you pay Hoseason?
Alan asked.
He's my partner, you know, so don't lie to me.
Well, I don't care what Hoseason told you, but I gave him £20. That's the truth. But he was going to sell the boy in America as a slave to get more money for him,
said my uncle. Mr. Angular stepped forward.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson,
he said.
That'll do nicely. Mr. Balfour, you have admitted to the kidnapping of your nephew, David Balfour. Shall we go inside? I think we need to discuss a few things.
And so, finally, my uncle had to give me my inheritance, the House of Shores. Now it was time for Alan to continue his journey. We both felt very sad. He was a very good friend to me, and we went through so much together. As we walked along, we did not speak. I gave him the few coins I had with me, so that he could get something to eat on his journey. He held out his hand.
Well, goodbye,
he said. Goodbye, I said. I held his hand tightly, let go, and walked away. My adventures with Alan were over, and a new life was about to begin.